Hello everyone and welcome back to another video with On Point Politics, and today I'm going to be going over the state of the race in 2024 and where everything stands right now. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this. And make sure to follow the Twitter and join the Discord server in the description down below. And make sure to go ahead and donate to our Michigan and Pennsylvania poll crowdfunding. We do national polling, and we actually already started conducting a poll in Virginia. I even mentioned in my previous video, we actually raised over $1,000. Thank you to everybody who actually donated. I listed everybody's name in the previous video, but we are basically have a goal of 1,600 because we are going to contact 750 registered voter in each of the states of Michigan and Pennsylvania, and we want to poll these states just to see where they're at right now and to see where it aligns with my model, etc. We actually did the state of Wisconsin. It actually has a Trump +1 lead as of right now. So if you guys are willing to support, make sure to go ahead and donate. I will have the link in the description down below. And so now back to the video. So pretty much, guys, we have, a situation where Donald Trump is literally leading the national average by 5 percentage points. And the problem for him is this: Clinton has been overestimated by 1.5 points before. Biden was overestimated by 2.7 points before. And so if that same error were to occur here, Donald Trump would be up in the popular vote by roughly 7 percentage points as of right now, which would be an absolutely insane margin to be at in the popular vote, especially for Donald Trump, somebody who's had very narrow elections. We see in the state, in 2016, for example, that Donald Trump narrowly won the Rust Belt back in that election. And in 2016, he barely lost in Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, which costed him the election. His elections have both been really close. So to see such a large victory would be very surprising for the electorate. Meanwhile, polling in Wisconsin, for example, we have a Trump +1 sample, but right now, Eric Hovde in that same poll was behind by like 12 points, which is like absolutely insane that that's even the case. And our 2020 sample, we're the only other pollster besides the New York Times that goes back to poll, and essentially our poll showed a tie in Wisconsin, which is roughly where the election was. And so that's effectively a really, really accurate sample out of the state. Now, do I think Trump is going to win Wisconsin by 1? Probably not. He's probably going to win it by more, actually, based on the model that we've constructed. I actually have Wisconsin as a 7 to 9 point victory for Donald Trump right now, and we're going to prove to you with the national shifts that this is the case. For example, the New York Times, when they go back and poll to 2020, their average basically roughly averages out to like a Biden +6 sample. Their 2024 sample averages out to like Trump +5, and you get this average right here. For my poll, the shift was plus Biden 5.4 for our national poll, which is on 538, by the way. We are officially on the 538 aggregate. So if you actually go down, you'll actually see our poll right here. We were the first poll to come out right after the debate. And we actually see here that Trump was leading by 6 with third-party candidates and was leading by 3 points in a head-to-head matchup. And the 2020 sample was actually fairly accurate, actually oversampled Democrats, which was pretty interesting. But now looking back on this, we see our shift is just a point more Republican than what these polls have indicated. And this is before, right post-debate. Now it's been about almost 2 weeks. And our shift is about Republican +12 because some older polls are falling out of our aggregate. Me and Gold Crown Politics have our own adjusted aggregate that has Trump up, I believe, by 3.3 percentage points with third-party candidates included. We also see in the New York Times that in Wisconsin, they had a Biden +7 sample when their poll was tied, indicating that the state is 7 points off. Now, keep in mind, they have a way higher sample size than us. We had a 500 voter sample size. They have like a way higher sample size. They probably have like a 2,000, 3,000 voter sample size out of Wisconsin. And so their sample size is way larger than us and shows a higher shift from 2020 than our poll that basically had Wisconsin tied for 2020, and our poll had Donald Trump up by 1 essentially. So our shift in our model is about 10.7 points from the previous cycle. That's roughly what we're seeing in the state right now. And so that all aligns up for the most part with national polling and Wisconsin polling that we've done with the New York Times, and that matches up with what we have in the Electoral College. Donald Trump getting 347 to Biden's 191. As of right now, Donald Trump gets around 69 million votes, Biden's getting around 60 million, and the third party candidates get the rest. And we see here Donald Trump is flipping states like New Mexico, Minnesota. He flips the Rust Belt back. Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, Virginia, New Hampshire, Maine at large. And people are like, well, you guys are crazy. There's no way that this would happen. Well, if you look at our adjusted aggregate, and we have to update this, but essentially our aggregate has Donald Trump up by it's like 3.23 points or something like that. And so essentially when you average that out, it has Donald Trump up by like 7.7 percentage points in the popular vote when you apply our basically historical error, which is around plus 4.5 for Trump, because that's the same error that Gold Crown Politics used in the last cycle, and he actually predicted the popular vote was going to be Biden plus 5.2. And when we look at approval ratings, we see incumbents tend to perform around their vote share in the approval rating, but Clinton, who is still popular, underperformed by around 5 points because of third-party candidate support that day. And we also see that when you cross-examine New York Times polling, you see the average shift is around 11 plus 3.25. With their new June and July poll, the average ends up being 11.36. That's roughly what we see there. The huge influence of RFK and other third-party candidates, that's also something really interesting to look at as well, because Donald Trump is doing extremely well. Even in primary turnout, Donald Trump is expected, he won primary turnout by 8 points. In 2020, Biden won it by 2. So there's just a lot that's going into this, and third-party candidates are definitely influencing the race as well to take more votes away from Biden. You can even see it here. Every single time that Biden goes down in the average, Kennedy essentially goes up. Even here, you see the more Biden was going up, the more down Kennedy was going. Now Biden was going down again, Kennedy went up, and then Biden was picking up some steam, Kennedy went down. And then he kind of stabilized. And then here, the second the debate happened, right after the debate happened, literally right after, we see that Kennedy just picked up a bunch of support after Biden literally has fallen down to like 37%, which is insane. And so that's what we're seeing there as of right now in the popular vote. And that's way different. Biden was leading by 9 points nationally 4 years ago on this day, and Clinton was leading by 5 nationally on this day. And in the head-to-head matchup, Donald Trump leads by like 3.3 percentage points. And if you apply that same error from 2020, 2.7%, you literally get exactly a 5-point lead in a head-to-head matchup, which would already be enough to put states like Virginia in play, New Hampshire in play. At that point, Minnesota would probably flip, New Mexico would probably flip, Colorado would be somewhat in play, New Hampshire would be in play, Maine at large in play, Nebraska second probably flips, and Trump plus 5. So that's roughly what you're looking at there. But since Trump is really leading by 7.7 points according to our aggregate, we have states like New Mexico flipping, Minnesota flipping, Nebraska second going, Maine at large going, Virginia going, New Hampshire going. Colorado is still, in the competitive range, but we have it as like a 2 to 3 point win. And even Biden's own internal polling actually shows the state as a 1.9 percentage point victory for Biden post-debate, and we have the state at like 2.5 points for Biden right now. New Jersey, right now, Gold Crown Politics has the state going to Joe Biden. I currently don't have that yet. I have the state as like a 2-point win, a 1.5 point victory, but it's still much closer. And even when you look at polling, for example, we'll actually go through all the polling in some of these states. So, for example, Colorado, we see that there hasn't been a poll since March, but Biden's ahead by 10 there. But again, this is a head-to-head matchup, and this was conducted by a more leaning liberal pollster. But we see here with likely voters from FAU, we see Biden was only ahead by 4 in that poll, which was really, really interesting to see. And what's funny about this as well is that I really, really think that the state could actually be closer than what people are thinking. New Mexico, the latest poll out of that state, believe it or not, actually has Donald Trump down by 1 point in the latest polling data with third-party candidates included. That is absolutely insane to see that in the state of New Mexico. Even in the next state, which could be Minnesota, we see a lot of polling data out of that state. that actually has Donald Trump up in the state. Even Emerson College has Trump up by 1, and they're rated as one of the top pollsters of the nation. That was the first nonpartisan pollster that actually had Donald Trump up in the state, believe it or not, which was very, very interesting. And we also see here that Donald Trump was leading by, 4 points with all the candidates included in an internal. Now, again, it is an internal, but the fact that he's even up in a Minnesota poll is pretty insane. We also see here, if we go to the state of Virginia even, we're going to see polling be absolutely insane. A lot of the polling is really close. We see here Fox News, we see right now Biden leads by 1 with third-party candidates included, and he's even in a head-to-head, which is very, very interesting. In the state of Washington, or I don't know what I'm talking about there, let's see, New Hampshire, we can go there. This is another one that's like, okay, well, something clearly is going on here. Donald Trump is leading by 2 points in the most accurate pollster from the last cycle that had Donald Trump down in the state by 8 points, and now Biden actually won it by 7. So that is a pretty accurate sample. Even New Jersey, Republican internals had the state at +1 and +2. They haven't added that other poll, but yep, they actually have Trump up by 1 in the state of New Jersey here, which is very, very fascinating. So when you look at all of the current polling data, those states, the polling data is competitive. And so people that say, well, there's no way New Jersey's obviously going to be a 10-point victory for Biden, at this point, I can't even see it being 10 points. If I were to guess all over the top of my head, even New Mexico, Minnesota, Virginia, all these states that I have as toss-ups are quote-unquote competitive in polling, and their polling errors tend to be less, worse than states like the Rust Belt, where the Rust Belt, yes, the polling has it close there, but the polling errors tend to underestimate Donald Trump in those states way more than states like Minnesota, Virginia, New Jersey, New Mexico. And so that's it for this video, guys. Donald Trump right now in this race is currently winning, in our projection, 347 electoral college votes to Biden's 191 electoral college votes. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this, and I will see you guys in the next video.